It's a Christmas miracle. The three of us on Let's Talk Broncos. Bree Macy, Zach Seegers, Joey Richards. Guys, it's been a while since we've had the trifecta going on. The holy trinity of sorts. I know it's blasphemous and I'm not sorry. Joey, let's start with you because I don't remember who I saw last, but how are you doing?
Doing well. We're here. I don't care what they're talking about with we're the most the fakest whatever record team ever. Shut up. That's my opinion straight off the bat. We're starting off with that. I don't know if y'all have looked around the rest of the AFC, but the Broncos, yeah, you could say that at all the teams. I don't care what you want to call us. We are winning, and that's how it's going to be right now. That's how I'm feeling, Brie.
Zach, follow it up.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like it's crazy to me, this fan base that like 3 years ago we were on this show talking about like, I don't know, maybe it'd be best to go 3-14 right now, is now turned around and can't enjoy a win. You know, yeah, not us.
Who's we?
Let's not unpack whether or not that still might be right. But anyways, if they, point being, like, we had a decade of, December being mock draft season, literally. Like, I brought Joey on at Mile High Sports, and it was like, all right, do a weekly draft article during the season. And that was reasonable because the Broncos weren't contending for anything other than draft position. And now it's like, well, I don't know. I wish they were getting more style points while they were, go off to the, one of the 8 best starts in team history. Savor it some. They have a start this good once every 8 years. They'll probably beat the Raiders this coming week. That'll make it once every 8 years. If they advance to 11-2, which they probably do, I think it'll be like 1 out of 6 starts in franchise history that have been that good. And there's like 66 years of this franchise. Soak it in. Like, it has been a fun turnaround. And I put this out on Twitter. This team still has $32 million going to Russell Wilson this year. That's more than anyone else on the roster. Their third highest cap hit. Ben Powers is spending most of the season on injured reserve. Like, this team, and they're going to have their biggest draft haul in terms of like sheer capital entering the draft in this upcoming cycle. So I think like not only is the present very bright, but the future is pretty bright too. And that's not even to get into the playoff picture stuff, which I think we'll unpack more probably as we talk about this matchup and everything.
Zach, you put a hot take or something like that in the group message. You did 1 or 2. I want to hear 2 if you remember how you did that.
My number 2, you're saying?
At some point in this podcast. That's all I'm going to say. So it's up to you to do that.
Hey, I'll uncork it right now. The Denver Broncos, just because they're on the topic right now. I'm sorry, Bree. The Denver Broncos have $60 million this upcoming free agency. Projections are going to vary on that. They can also make some moves around things, but they'll probably have about $50 to $60 million to work with, which is going to be more than most teams. It's going to be top 10 pretty comfortably, maybe top 5. So that money, more than anything, means flexibility. There's not many great free agents that hit the market anymore because cap space is going up like crazy for everybody. So people can save the free agents they want. I talked about this regarding like keeping JFM and Roach potentially. Based on everything I'm hearing now, it seems like JFM's probably gone. But a different conversation for a different time. But last year, that's how they managed to keep GJ Jones. It's everyone's able to keep the good players they want to keep, generally speaking. So there's not going to be great free agents out there. So what do you spend the $60 million on? Someone you trade for. And to realize that, you need draft capital. And what did I just say? The Broncos have more draft capital than they've had at any point since the Russell Wilson deal. Russell Wilson deal, that's obviously scary. You got to be smart with how you spend that capital. But look at what Micah Parsons is doing for the Packers defense and how he's transformed them. The Eagles don't reach 2 Super Bowls or win 1 without the aggressive trade for A.J. Brown. The Rams don't win without Jalen Ramsey. There's absolutely a time and place for these aggressive moves. Should you be The Raiders trading a first for Devontae Adams, maybe not, but like the Broncos aren't in that position.
But the Rams getting Devontae Adams, you might want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like that makes more sense. And the Broncos are in a position where I think they should, like, you want to add a superstar to this team. I think everyone watching this offense is like, God, I wish they had like a difference making playmaker on the offense. And the one way you can add that as a team picking in the late 20s, if not 30s, is by making a trade. And I think there's some ideas of running back that are appealing that I'll unpack later, because I think I'll sound absolutely crackpot if I just start throwing out the names I've got on mine. But, like AJ Brown even being a possible one that I think is maybe riskier than most. But you know what? Maybe I'll have an article up on the website diving into some of these names. But I think that's what I'd be watching for.
That'd be sick. Or Let's Talk Broncos articles, please.
Let's talk Broncos.com for all of those, and you can check that out. Zach will let you know when it's available. Over on Twitter, it's an interesting concept to understand where the Broncos are, where they're headed, and exceeding expectations so far this season, because we started Let's Talk Broncos this season maybe in a tempered version of what the ceiling was for a 10-11, maybe 12-win team. The Broncos are at 10-2, obviously on a 9-game win streak, and I think they're blowing up some of the expectation threshold where we found ourselves talking about this team on the get-go. Now, I absolutely agree with you, Zach, that there is a frustrating factor when it comes to a spark and or an explosiveness on this Broncos offense, seeing and wanting more and additional production. I do think, Joey, that you made an interesting comment today that I really took to heart. I think it was today, regarding Courtland Sutton, and how he's very sneakily eking towards that 1,000-yard mark for receiving yards, and how that's kind of going by the wayside as this offense continues to putter along. But even as I'm saying that, right, I feel like that really detracts from the sentiment that, or adds to the sentiment of what national media and or most people are saying about this Broncos team. Now, guys, before the season started, it was training camp, and we sat right here in these positions, and we were talking about wanting the national media to sort of simmer down a little bit. Dim the lights on this conversation. Don't blow the Broncos out of proportion just yet. We need to see what they're going to do with what they have. Now, they've done it in unconventional ways. The close wins, the crazy comebacks, and doing it with so much more defensive play than offensive play. So as we're at this mark, entering week 14, going up against a division rival that's still an AFC West division rival, no matter how you slice it, I think it's interesting to note that now we're having the same conversation of them being that good and matching that expectation, and now it's flopped, right? I think I tweeted out basically that pundits and sports talk is a lot of engagement and enragement for a reason. How do you qualify kind of the split, or maybe the 180 that you've seen most people do when they're talking about a Denver Broncos team that is maybe not their fandom necessarily, right? Zach, I'm going to toss it over to you just because I'm interested to know, at the basis of it all, the fraudulent term doesn't seem to be a fair, but I think the team was underrated from the get-go. So how do you feel about the state of the team as we're heading into week 14?
I feel great about it. And I think, who cares what everyone else wants to say this team is? They've been wrong up until now, including I think everyone outside of the most blind homerish fans would have had the Broncos at 10-2, with their 2 losses being at the buzzer, and one of them being it's a pretty, maybe even undeserved, with the 60-yard field goal against the Colts and all that. This is a team that's already outperformed every expectation, no matter how many or how few style points have been involved in that process along the way. And I'd also say people getting riled up about power rankings or whatever about the Broncos not getting the respect they deserve. What's happening to all the teams that are, getting first place in the power rankings or are getting this national respect? they're, getting knocked off by the Panthers, whether that be the Packers or the Rams. They're getting beat by the Broncos, if that's the Eagles or the Chiefs, like all these other teams where you're the Bills and you're losing to the Patriots and getting stomped by the Texans, a team the Broncos just beat themselves. Like, every other team that's been anointed has fallen. I think the Broncos have like the least embarrassing blemish on their resume. Like, what is the most embarrassing blemish? I don't think it's either of their losses. It's probably the 10-7 home victory over the Raiders.
It would be their wins. That's the craziest part about it, right? It would be their wins or their blemishes on their record where it's like, hey, this team's not very good. That would be why people are hesitant against the Broncos, are some of their wins. Yeah.
And compare that to everyone else. Like, even the Patriots, who are like in this 1-seed battle, the only other 2-loss team in the league, like, what's their big blemish? They lost to the Raiders at home. And like, it wasn't as close as the Broncos beating the Raiders at home. So I just, like, who cares ultimately? And I don't mean that in a like apathetic way or to shrug off the question, but just like savor how good the Broncos are. Like, they're going to continue to prove people wrong. And I think there's reason to believe that, like, the national media and just media in general might be slow to recognize how good this Broncos team is, or their chances of competing at a high level. Joey talked about my 2 takes in the chat. I mentioned this was my other one. So I'm teed up perfectly. I'll fire it off. We've kind of acknowledged that the games going back to 90s, 2000s football, a grimier style, a style where defense and the run game are more important. And I think media has caught up to that and has covered that well. And I think they're dead on covering it. That said, I think they've been slow to recognize that, unlike, 2016 through 2023, where we've had, the McVay and Shanahan passing games and Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow kind of rule the league, this era of elite passing games determining, whether or not you're allowed to be a contender. That wasn't the case in 2000 or in 1990. Like, Trent Dilfer was winning Super Bowls. We had a Brad Johnson versus Rich Gannon Super Bowl. Like, the idea that, and it's not to put a cap on Bo Nix's ceiling, but Bo Nix isn't one of the top 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks in football right now. But he's clutch in like the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, you might play like one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, and it's enough to win. And like, you look at, the Steelers and Matt Hasselbeck played for a Super Bowl with a rookie Ben Roethlisberger. And then like Rex Grossman was in the Super Bowl the year after that. It was a very different landscape. And I think we're returning more to that, where you don't necessarily need the elite passing attack to be an elite team. And I think the Broncos evidence that and are going to keep proving it to people. Like, who in the NFL, I'll tee this up to you guys now and shut my trap. Who in the NFL, like NFC or AFC, scares you? Like, I think the Rams are the easy answer, but I look at that shaky offensive line and a quarterback with back problems and the Broncos pass rush, and I think like the Broncos aren't a good matchup for the Rams. So who scares you, especially in the AFC, but just in the NFL in general, the two of you?
I think personally, I mean, Zach, I echo a lot of your sentiments there. I look around and everyone, it just feels like mass criticism. And I'm sure every team's feeling like this right now because there isn't a darling of the NFL right now. It's the most parody I've seen, it feels like, since I've been following football, at least, where I just don't know who is the top team in the NFL. It's hard to do. Every team has a flaw to them. And maybe it's a primetime football thing, but I'm feeling it extra right now, right? The Broncos don't have any more flaw than any other team I'm sitting there watching right now. They don't. They have a puncher's chance against everybody in the NFL. So, Zach, to your question, I don't think anybody really is like the darling of the league right now. No, nobody's the boogeyman to me. The Rams are the closest answer I have, but they just took a bad loss just this week. So it's hard for me to put a finger on.
Nobody throw the bias word in my direction, but I'm a little worried about the Patriots just because I think Drake May is catching fire at the really opportunistic time, and them being on a steady streak as well is not helpful whatsoever. But they're not perfect, and they haven't necessarily worked out the magic. But I do absolutely love the pairing. I think Vrabel was cut out of cloth specifically for that job.
Coach of the year immediately, like chewing right now. It's not even
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's definitely a wider margin of separation, and you can see it, right? That I think that's why you're waiting for the other shoe to drop when it comes to the Broncos, because you're wondering when that loss is going to happen, or when those losses are going to come, and are they going to be so immaculately destroying of your relative high on this team, because the rest of the schedule looks so conquerable. I don't necessarily want to see the Kansas City Chiefs 3 times, but I feel like that's the breadth in which we're having this conversation of that team being at a very weak spot, right? Best matchup. Who's going to walk away with the ultimate win? But I could just see that being kind of where this is all headed. Like if the NFL script writers are a thing, like that's the shoe in, that's the handing over the AFC West, and then in general. I worry about some of the matchups simply because the Broncos are really gritty, and they've learned through a lot of adversity that they can keep getting it done. And I worry that there's like a 95% chance that it's all for pressing through and digging deep and finding what you need in those last bouts of endorphins and adrenaline and all that good stuff. And then there's the 5% where it drops off and just sheer dominance from the defense gets swallowed up by exhaustion and frustration, right? But that's the NFL. That's how games go every single week in, week out. We see that teams take it close, or they end up just falling victim to. And what we saw, I think, necessarily through the Commanders game is they threw a lot of things at the Broncos that they weren't anticipating and didn't have an answer for, and had to wait until the Commanders made the mistakes possible to kind of shift momentum. And that's a dangerous spot to be in, specifically when you're waiting for another team to screw up.
And I think it's kind of nice to be winning it. Like here would be some of my copium or hopium for people worried about the nature of these wins, the fact they have to keep coming down to the closing seconds. That's been like, I don't even want to say it's like been game management or anything, because I don't think that's the case, but like an inability to like have those breaks go your way has been Peyton's big like bugaboo in the playoffs. The famous pass interference call or no call, whatever it was. Of course, the Minneapolis Miracle.
Vikings game,
Then you had the Vikings beating the Saints in Minnesota on like the Kyle Rudolph touchdown. I think that was in overtime, if I'm remembering correctly. You have like, it even goes back further than that, like Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton in 2012, the year the Niners lost to the Ravens in the Super Bowl. Peyton in San Francisco went to I'm pretty sure it was overtime, or it was like a touchdown in the last like 30 seconds of the game. Won that one for the Niners, and like an all-time NFL classic. Like I think many times throughout his tenure, and I mean, he kind of said as much this offseason, when there's been like 6 different teams prior to this Broncos one that he felt could have won the Super Bowl, and only one that did. And what separates the 2009 Saints from like the 2011 Saints or the 2012 Saints or, the 2019 Saints, I don't think is like how good those teams were. Cause like you look at the 19 Saints, they've got a top 5 offense, a top 5 defense. Like it was, separating in those clutch moments, those gotta have it moments. And, having it this year, maybe it's a good omen for the Broncos. The last time they had this type of luck, they did win the whole thing. And at no point in the 2015 season was everyone like, man, this Broncos team, I think they're the best team in the NFL. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Not in the regular season, not in the conference championship week when they were saying the NFC championship between the Cardinals and Panthers was the real Super Bowl, and definitely not in the lead up to the Super Bowl when everyone was picking the Panthers. So, who knows?
I'll say this too. This last game did feel like that a little more to me than the other ones though, and I feel like it's all encapsulated in one, but the scenarios in these games are different, right? I think in the majority of these ones, the math is very simple. You have a defense that's been dominating, you have an offense that's struggled, therefore it's a close game. The Broncos then offense does better than the other team's offense in the fourth quarter. It's not like some crazy, how do the Broncos keep getting away with this thing? This last game, I would say, is kind of the outlier in this whole situation where the Broncos defense was, wow, what happened? But the Broncos offense did more than enough. I feel like on a consistent basis, the Broncos offense consistently did what they did against Washington, against every team. I feel like I would have my defense come back down to earth to where they've been the majority of the season, and we're winning those games a little more handedly. In just my opinion, we're gonna get into it, but the only thing that scares me now going into further weeks is the Dobbins injury sucks. That's the only thing.
Last year's Chiefs team is an example of like, this doesn't feel replicable to me. You know, like it was the blocked field goal against the Broncos. They'd get like a unnecessary roughness call or a pass interference call that went their way. Like that's like, you can't just drop. I mean, maybe if you're the Chiefs, you can, but you can't just drop like, oh, next week we're going to get a critical like 15-yard penalty when we need it, and that'll win the game for us. Where I think Joey's point is apt, like the Broncos formula of like, we've got an elite defense that's going to keep us in every game, and we've got a great offensive coach, a quarterback who plays his best in these critical moments, and we can, eke it out. That doesn't mean you're going to go 100% in those moments, but I think it's a more replicable strategy.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think it needs to necessarily give me heart failure week in and week out. But I think that is just the recipe for what it's going to be, right? And until all is said and done, I think that's just what we've all signed up for. And I gotta say, I was on the edge of my seat in the entirety of that game on Sunday. Everything felt like it was on the line. I don't know why it felt so weighty, because it's not necessarily that a loss would catapult the Broncos into a last place endeavor. And it just feels though like I can't stomach the idea of having to come and talk about it if it was a depressing loss in a scope of Marcus Mariota absolutely dicing up the Denver Broncos defense. And that's not a slight to Mariota. I think he'd be a starting quarterback in a couple of teams as they presently look for an answer there. He's a good QB. I think I would have just liked to see what Jaden Daniels would have done, but ultimately, it feels good. And I don't think we talk about it all the time in our personal lives, guys. Celebrating those small wins, celebrating each win that we conquer in our lives, personally, professionally, etc. This is another avenue in which I think we can start to practice that a little bit more, is to show up on what is a Victory Wednesday and celebrate the fact that this is a big win, and it's important moving forward because the stakes are so high as you're looking at seeding purposes. We'll get into that and more. We'll break down what it all means as we get closer to those avenues, but we're same mentality as the Broncos, one game at a time, trying to figure out what this all means. But before we kind of knock into a few of the key storylines that I think are building up to this last half of the season, it's not even half, last third of the season, the regular season, would be the news, the spark to the offense that you were talking about. Zach Seeger's making a big splash. Okay, I can't hype it up as much as I wanted to, but I did want to ask the question, right? The Broncos pick up wide receiver Elijah Moore, place him on the practice squad. I think there's real potential for upside. I think Zach qualified him as a fixer-upper. If there's any sort of elevation to the active roster, I think it'll be late season, playoff football, etc. But it feels like an insurance plan here. Joey, I'm going to start with you from your perspective. What is it realistically bringing to this offense? Because I know the arrival may not shift the dynamics mostly because the current roles within the receiver room are pretty standard, but I do think that they are needing something in this late stretch of the season. Do you see an impact here right away, creating any sort of competition for snaps amongst the younger receivers? Or do you think this is generally a make sure you have depth move?
I think it's a little column A, little column B. Like, you definitely need some depth here. You don't want like at this point, and it's why I wish they maybe signed another running back in the offseason or another linebacker or we're making signings at some of those positions in need right now. Like, I think a lot of times it's less about like the really flashy game changer that you're going to add in free agency or on the veteran market, and more about just like insulating yourself from disaster. And that's what Elijah Moore can do. Like, I don't think he's going to be a game changer, but like if Troy Franklin were to suffer a serious injury and miss like a few weeks, he's probably not as good. There's a reason Troy Franklin's going to be starting over him, but I think he can approximate some of that role. And I do think it's something the Broncos could use in this offense. I think, again, it's a role Troy Franklin's kind of starting to claim for himself and carve out for himself, but like that.
Bryant saw a lot of snaps last week, Zach.
Yeah. And I think I would say in that pecking order, I'd bet Moore is third behind. I think there might be a competition between Franklin and Bryant. But I don't think Moore will insert himself into the competition between those two. I think he'll be pretty comfortably third, but he can offer, like, I also think Bryant just offers a very different thing than what Franklin does. And Moore can offer some of that. Like, I know Joey's been scouting these receivers a lot, and one thing I know he's looking at or highlighting with his eyes on the Broncos is a dude who can beat man coverage on a consistent basis. Yeah. And that is what Moore's selling point is. Now, I don't think he's lived up to his draft sales pitch, but you've still seen flashes of that. I know that the clip's been going around on Twitter of him routing up Levi Wallace last year. Now, that is Levi Wallace in 2020.
Judy had about 600 yards in that same game.
Exactly. But so I think that's what he could maybe approximate in this offense, but I wouldn't be expecting a ton. I do think he'll have a bigger impact than A.T. Perry, though. Little shot at David Talks Broncos.
Yeah. So to your last point, we should just start not talking about A.T. Perry.
We should have never started talking about A.T. Perry.
That's my number one opinion, right? My number two opinion is I think it gives me an idea. My major point here is he's signed in the practice squad, so it's not that crazy of a deal, everybody. I don't think we should be like, this is the game changer for the team, because I've seen a bunch of those tweets, and it's like, signed in the middle of the season, doesn't know the playbook, signed to the practice squad. Yeah, he's going to have to prove me that he's actually part of this team before the signing doesn't really mean much to me at this point. This guy's, guess what I'm saying? What it does show to me is just looking into this offseason, I think there's a place on this Broncos offense, maybe, especially, I mean, we saw people get hurt. Renfro all of a sudden got thrown into the lineup. Like, the Broncos might be looking for that type of guy that can run from the slot. You're more traditional slot wide receiver that can win in man coverage, that can create after the catch a little bit. That's what Elijah Moore does. So I'm not putting any of my eggs in his basket, but it is an indication to me of maybe what they're looking for going forward, is that type of wide receiver. They're lacking that across their entire roster. I would say their best in a traditional slot role would be Renfro. None of these other guys are really doing that. Pat Bryant, a little bit, but does it differently, right? Tough as nails over the middle. I'm talking about someone that just is going to get open relentlessly. And I look at this team and I'm like, who does that? It's a little more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely is. That's kind of where I was thinking you both would be at. So it's refreshing to note. Joey, you did note prior to that conversation, the question mark that still remains as far as a run game is concerned. What do you see out of RJ Harvey in the Commanders game that you hope to see either more or less of when it comes to this Raiders matchup? Now the run game is going to need to be not substituted with, but added to, complementary should the play calling be, in order to help bolster what you do have available to you within the run game. Agree, disagree? Give me your thoughts. And what are you hoping to see this upcoming Sunday?
I've been thinking this whole year. I haven't really said it, but it feels like there's multiple situations where RJ Harvey is a arm tackle away or something. It kind of drives me insane. I don't know if you guys agree with me at all on this. It feels like the guy should be breaking a little more tackles than what he does. To me, it does. And if he isn't going to do that, he should be reading everything perfectly, in which he doesn't. I'm a fan of RJ Harvey. I think he's great in a role for this team, the same way Reggie Bush was for Sean Payton offense, right? Reggie Bush was awesome in a role for that team. Darren Sproles was awesome for a role in that team. Do I think that he should be the pound for pound he's carrying the load back going forward? He hasn't shown me enough to say, hey, RJ Harvey should take that role. I don't think he's that type of running back. Even Kamara, I don't think many people realize this. Kamara, he's gone his entire NFL career, one of the best running backs in the NFL for a lot of those years. Never finished over 1,000 rushing yards. Again, a guy that plays in a role for that team. The only thing that kind of frustrates me about this now that I'm looking back at it is just how this running back room is constructed in general. I don't understand how you sign J.K. Dobbins to be your lead back, which is what he's done this year, right? You have a role for him in mind. And this injury in particular was kind of a freak injury, but going into the season, the mind frame would have been, I'm betting that he probably gets hurt. That's just the injury, like the trajectory of his career so far. He has a bug for this. It's an issue. And how your backup to that is, hey, I have RJ Harvey and Jaleel McLaughlin. That's not doing it for me. You could have signed one of these one-year guys that could have been just maybe he's not amazing. Maybe he's not popping off these bigger runs. Maybe he's not as good as J.K. Dobbins at all. I don't think any of these guys would have been. But you're winning on like kind of a success rate type of way. You could have signed one of these Brian Thomas Jr. guys for a one-year contract instead of Jaleel McLaughlin. And that would have made a lot more sense. And the Broncos probably would have been in a lot better situation right now than they are. Than with RJ Harvey and Jaleel McLaughlin, both kind of scat back type of guys. So that's my issue with this run game right now. I would hope going to this next year, they go into it with a different game plan. I know Sean Payton's done that in the past. That's how they ended up on Chris Ivory, for example. They had a team with Mark Ingram, I think it was Darren Sproles, I think it was Chris Ivory, and I think it was with Reggie Bush, all on the same team. Where is this? I would like to see more depth in this running back room than just, hey, Jaleel is our third. Yeah, I don't love it.
Yeah, I fully agree. They need two guys in addition to Harvey. And I think that was foreseeable this offseason. I know we said it. It circles back to the point I just made about Elijah Moore. Like a lot of these signings are just to like insulate yourself from disaster. It would have been great if RJ Harvey hit the ground running as Alvin Kamara. And then you don't even need J.K. Dobbins. But like J.K. Dobbins was a late signing. And we were on this show pounding the table for that signing all off season. Cause like, man, what if RJ Harvey isn't like, hit the ground stud running back, right away. I just, and I'm not out on him yet. I definitely think I'm somewhat worried about what I'm seeing from him as a runner in terms of like
the role though, Zach. He will be.
Oh, I agree. That's what I'm getting to. Like, I don't know if he's going to be like a great down-to-down running back. I think it's very clear he's like a good receiver. He's surpassed my expectations as a pass protector too. They haven't asked him to do a ton of it, and that's not to say he hasn't had ugly reps. Like he's had some misses, and in that role you can't have misses. Like it demands a very high batting average. You're protecting the quarterback. You can't be whiffing on those. But I think considering how little he was asked to do it at UCF and how good he's been at it as a rookie, like the bones are there to where I think, I've got little doubt at this point that like he can be your third down back, pretty consistently going forward. Yeah. I think that's a perfect role for him. He'll pass protect, go up for routes. He's a danger in space. Awesome. As like a true running back, especially like an early down guy, I don't know if he'll ever develop into that. I could see it happening. Like, I loved his running ability at UCF. I think you still see flashes of it. Like the first carry against the Commanders, it's like, dude, that's like, you found the hole up the gut. It's between the tackles. You're a powerful runner. You're fast, and you just like take the 10 yards, and that's awesome. Like, he just needs a little more of that. Like if you could like find the balance between like Javonte just running like full speed into the back of his lineman and RJ Harvey waiting to find like the perfect gap to open up, just like a little balance of like the urgency and also like hitting the right hole, that, oh man, you'd have a great runner. But
I do. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I think he can get there. Even if he doesn't, you need other options in this room. I think like, and I don't think Zach Moss is like a great running back. I don't think Dameon Pierce is a great running back, but roll the dice on these guys. I've seen Broncos country just give up the Dameon Pierce dream. He chose the Chiefs practice squad over the Broncos practice squad. Offer him an active roster spot. I guarantee, just from like a money perspective, if you offer him an active roster spot, he's not going to go, nah, I'm good on the Chiefs practice squad. Like, you were talking about a 10x raise. He's like, it's the Broncos' own fault that he's like not on the roster right now. They could very easily solve that problem and just like let Garrett Wallow go and like, or fill in the blank random back of the roster player.
I don't like know who that is. Garrett
exactly.
Wallow.
Like, they've released like probably 7 players this year that like at one point were on the roster and are no longer. And you don't think about it. Like, who cares? Like, who cares where Michael Bandy is right now outside of Bree? Like, no one is thinking about. I know you like Michael Bandy. But like, no one.
He'll be back next year too. Enjoy it.
He will be. Hey, he's going to tear it up in training camp.
Better not see him in the punt return line at training camp. I don't want
it. But and they might not even do anything, but just like, you need to try to find another mate, because we know Tyler Bidet isn't it. We know, in my opinion, we know Jaleel McLaughlin isn't it. Like, see if Dameon Pierce is it. And if he's not, guess what? You're in the exact same spot you are right now with Tyler Bidet.
Well, and it's not like you're looking for a long-term solution either with Sean Payton's notoriety with churning and burning through running backs. I think that you're keying yourself up for having that split there. I do like your point on the pass pro, because I think it's important. You did see him make that diving block to the ankles of that defender that was coming the way of Bo Nix. I like the sense of urgency that you feel from Harvey, and I think everything else is improvable upon, right? So there's the idea that you need an extra dose of maybe a just larger back in general. Zach,
really quick. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
You saw the message. I was worried you were about to. I'm sorry. On the Harvey thing, I was looking up Harvey's advanced stats because I saw a thing with his rushing yards over expectation the other day. That's pretty concerning. He's at negative 38 overall.
Oh, that's good.
So not great. He's leaving some yards on the field. That's a little like Javonte last year. But I noticed this, and it's pretty interesting. And the samples are almost identical here. If you look at the splits for between the tackles and carries outside the tackles, the difference for him is really stark. And maybe it's a thread the Broncos can pull on offensively, and maybe change his utilization some and get a little more out of this. So he's got 35 carries between the tackles, 39 outside the tackles. I would expect Harvey to be tearing it up outside the tackles. Could not be further from the truth. He on his 39 runs outside the tackles has 48 yards less than expectation. He's averaging 1 yard less than one would expect he would carry or gain per carry. On the carries between the tackles, he's pretty much getting every yard expected, a little over. Plus 0.3 yards over expectation per attempt, plus 9 overall. He's also got a positive rushing EPA on runs up the middle. He's getting more yards after contact per attempt. He's got more carries of 10 plus yards, more carries of 20 plus yards on those runs up the middle. Maybe that's something. Ask him to do those tosses and some of that outside zone stuff a little less, where maybe he's trying
an
to
inside zone back. I've thought this for a while.
Yeah. Let him go north south and just tell him to like, man, all we need you to do is get us like 4 yards. Just like keep the offense on schedule. And he's he's a fire hydrant running a 4.3. Like, he should be able to do that. Just like run full speed, get us 4 yards, and like that's all we need from you.
Question before we move on from that, because you sparked a curiosity thing for me. How much of that is established pre-snap, though? Like a lot of my argument lately has been this offense is really doing everything Sean Payton is asking from them, but when it determines where you're running that route necessarily, is it always a per snap decision, or are we thinking that Sean Payton has it designed to run that way? Like, is it a limitation of Harvey or a limitation of the offense?
I think.
Well, I think Bree, you see the difference between J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, right?
Yeah.
Both these guys played the same position, and J.K. Dobbins was a lot more efficient. So I think that kind of eliminates the idea of that Sean Payton's holding back the run game. In a way, I think Sean Payton could run the ball more. I absolutely, especially early on in the year where Broncos had an efficient run game, but not a very good pass game. It's like, please run the ball more, Sean. But at the point we're at now, where the pass game the last 2 weeks has been more efficient than your run game, J.K. Dobbins would be night and day right now, man. If I could get J.K. Dobbins, it pisses me off that Bo Nix all of a sudden decided to be the man. Right? It perfectly coincides with the J.K. Dobbins injury. I hate it. Can't stand it.
Yeah, we'd have some more multi-possession wins if that didn't line up the way it did. Hopefully Dobbins can be back for I know I've heard he should be back for the Super Bowl if they make it that far. If they could get him back for just like the playoffs. Like, man, let's get the first round bye, and if he could be ready to go divisional playoff weekend, I would feel dramatically better about this.
I would start sourcing bronze for the statue if that was the case.
Man, I'm with you, but I do think some of it's by design in the sense that, like, this is the back Harvey is. Like, he's always been somewhat of a boomer bust runner, and I don't think that should surprise anyone that he's going to maybe have a lot of 1-2 yard carries, and then the hope is he pops one for 20 or 30, and that's what balances it all out. Like, J.K. Dobbins, my comment earlier was a little tongue in cheek. J.K. Dobbins is the guy who is getting you 4 or 5 yards every carry, and then maybe he pops one for 10 or 15. R.J. Harvey's the dude who, maybe he gets bottled up for 2 yards a lot, but he will pop one for 60 or 70, and that makes it all worthwhile, frankly. And the guy I'm about to mention is a much better version, but stylistically it's similar to Saquon Barkley, where Saquon Barkley's always kind of been a boomer bust runner. He hasn't been like the highest success rate back. Again, much better player, higher success rate than Harvey. But the thing with Saquon is, like, he has a lot of those like 2-3 yard runs that maybe put the offense behind schedule, but he's also likely to pop one for 60 or 70 yards. And that's the reason the Eagles won a Super Bowl last year, because you could bank on him getting a 60-yard rushing touchdown every week. And it's why they look so subpar on offense this year, because those explosive runs are gone. And like I just mentioned the rushing yards over expectation stat. Harvey has a couple weeks where he's been awful in that regard, and 1 week where he's been great in that regard. That week, the Titans game. And what happened in the Titans game that didn't happen in any of these others? He popped one of those. He had that carry up the middle where he gets the cut to the left and he pops it for like 30, 40 yards. That hasn't happened yet, but to the point Joey made at the onset of this conversation, it's frustrating because it's like, God, it's right there. And I do think, one of these weeks, whether it be the Raiders this week or the Packers or the Jaguars, or like, I really think one of these coming weeks, Harvey is not going to play all that differently. And the Sunday night and Monday conversation after the game is going to be, whoa, Harvey breakout game. Is this going to be the turning point for RJ Harvey? And it's like, no, he just happened to pop like the carry that went for 3 yards in all the other games because of a shoestring tackle happened, didn't happen this week. And so it went for 60. And now instead of averaging 3 yards a carry, he's averaging 6. So I think some of it's by design in that sense. That was long-winded though.
No, not at all. Don't short sell yourself. Joey.
Extremely long-winded, Zach. It was
I forgot what we were
This is
talking
what I
about.
bring to the gumbo.
I don't remember who I called on. Zach's just gonna talk. It's whatever it's gonna be. This is just Zach's show. We're just along for the ride. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
Don't you forget it. My little lampreys.
Like a sea lamprey?
Yeah, that was
That's
my pick.
awesome. That was
I'm glad
so
you took
cool.
a complimentary lamprey complimentary.
Yeah, with all the teeth.
Yeah.
Like all the teeth. Just
Yeah.
That absolutely I took that complimentary.
All right.
Any other, I guess we really didn't do a formal what to watch for. I had a lot of questions for you all this evening before we moved into bold predictions, score predictions. But anything else of note? Let me guess, Zach, you have a cool stat that you want to throw in there when it comes to Broncos Raiders matchups.
Please give us one.
Sure. Well, I mean,
I want
you put
multiple.
me on the spot. What I want to watch, I want to see this Broncos offense roll by the Raiders. I really think they should. I want to see a multiple possession victory. Okay, actually, I've got a stat. I was scrambling there for a second. You caught me off balance. I got a stat for you.
I was just messing
this
with
Broncos team. I know you were, but I still deliver. This Broncos team, right? Everyone's been talking about the one possession victories and blah blah blah. And okay, prior to the Super Bowl 50, the 2015 Broncos had 3 victories, 3 multiple possession victories. And every single other one came down to the wire with some ridiculous BS. Like week 1, they play the Ravens. You get or what were you going to say, Joey? And then I'll start my thing.
I was just going to say it's so easy to figure out. It's like it drives me nuts that people can't figure this out. Good defense, bad offense equals low scoring game.
Close game.
Equals close game.
Well, they also had a CJ
Anderson.
Anderson.
Are we all trying to figure out how the Broncos keep getting in close games? It's driving me nuts right now. I literally can't stand it. I've been saying it for like 3 weeks now.
I'm with you. But like that team didn't have a lot of close victories. They had three such wins over that span. And the others, lots of crazy bullshit. You have the Roby game against the Chiefs. Darian Stewart in week 1 gets an interception in the end zone as the Ravens are driving down for the win. Week 4, Vikings are driving down for the win, and TJ Ward get the sack on Teddy Bridgewater, the GOAT. Week 5, Raiders, they win that game by 6. Chris Harris Jr. has a legendary pick 6 in that game. After that, they go to the Browns. They win that game by 3 in overtime. That game also had a pick 6. I could do this for literally all but 3 games on this schedule. Like every single one has something. Like Brock Osweiler comes in against the Bears, and it's the Bears go for 2 at the very end of the game. They don't get it. If they get it, it goes to overtime. Who knows what happens there? All the way up to the Super Bowl, that team only had 3. Non-close wins, we can call it multiple possession victories. This team's already got 2, and you know what? I think there's a good chance they get that 3rd. Look at me tie it back together this week against this Raiders team, because this Raiders team looks like it's pretty much given up. The offense is really suspect. I think the defense is better than it's been painted as. Like a lot of the advanced analytics will paint it as a middle
Max
of the
Crosby.
road. Yeah, I think they're a middle of the, and Patrick Graham's a great DC. Like I think they are a mediocre defense. They are not as good as they looked on that Thursday night game, though. And I hope we see like the defense shut down this offense like we saw on Thursday night. That should kind of be the expectation. This isn't a good offense. And the Broncos attack should have more success against this Raiders defense. This should be like a 20-10 type game. And so as we talk about what to watch for, Bree, that's what I'm watching for. I'm watching for the Broncos to finally take care of one of these lesser opponents.
20-10.
Delivery is so nice.
Man, that's why I've been this.
The only way that people will be satisfied, what I mean by people is the national media, is if this is like a 30-10 game. That's what will satisfy them. 20-10 won't do it against the Raiders. It's going to be the same talking points.
That'll be Bo can beat up on the bad teams. They won't buy it until then.
Yeah. Joey, what are you watching for? Anything else that is I don't know, tickling your fancy as you approach this second matchup against the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. I know there's a lot to be excited about. It is hate week, but it does feel like we're not as excited for this matchup. So what would excite you as you get ready to watch Sunday's game?
A good Broncos run game. We spoke about this earlier. If the Broncos can run the ball efficiently, that would really do it for me. The Bo Nix offense has looked great, or not great. The Bo Nix himself, not the offense, the Bo Nix himself has looked really good the last couple of weeks. If we can get an efficient run game going, I think this offense can be more than competitive. And that's the difference between this Broncos team being real Super Bowl, we're the top of the AFC in my power rankings type thing or not. So I think it's that efficient run game.
All right. I like it. I like both of those. I think mine is going to tie into my bold prediction, so I'll couple them together as we've been talking about it basically all season, all 14 weeks of when are the turnovers going to happen in which the differential goes in the Broncos' favor. Well, it's been starting to ramp up. Zach's prediction of Hufanga really breaking it loose and getting an interception. I mean, like, we're just so close to it being multiple interceptions per game. I think this is the ripe one, right? The Broncos can probably taste the blood in the water. Zach said the Raiders are most likely giving up. I just don't even think if they weren't giving up what they would necessarily do with the offense that they presently have in front of them. So I think it's going to be a lot of uncomfortability as this defense goes against this team, which is going to lead to multiple turnovers. So I'm going to say 2+ in the favor of the Broncos. I know it's not incredibly bold. I just don't feel like going over that mark because I think like 2 is enough against this team. If they can go ahead and swing it that way, then they're going to be able to comfortably, let's say, I'm not comfortable going with the pick 6. I'm just going to say, score off of that defensive turnover. Actually, I'll say 2+ and a score off of one of them because let's go.
2+ turnovers and a score is what you're saying, Brie?
Well, yeah, 2+, one of those being a score off of a defensive recovery.
And a defensive score, you don't mean an interception that leads to an offensive score.
Correct. Yes, I'm not trying to Zach Seegers my way into a loophole of winning my bold prediction.
Hey, that's why I'm the best.
You will find a loophole too, best believe.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to also, we haven't talked about it since it happened. Man, I'm so annoyed that the RJ Harvey pass happened in a game I didn't predict.
I almost brought it up.
We haven't been all together on a show since that happened, but man, I'm annoyed about that.
It was your fault.
I'll take it, Bree. I think it's gonna. Man, yeah, 2. The
on the score sheet.
If it was just two, I probably would leave it because I think you're onto something. The score, you're making it too juicy, too bold. I love it, and I'll take you up on it, Bree.
Nice. I know Joe is going to take it up. That's his whole motive.
Yeah,
that's his.
I will take you up on it, Bree. My 2 co-hosts here are usually wrong, unfortunately. I will take them up on all of them except for when Zach's like, Bo Nix will throw for 200 yards. Then I'll say something. Bree usually comes in with the hot takes, a little too hot for me, so I'm going to take you up on this one. A score in that is definitely a lot. So, yeah, I'm taking you up on this bet, Bree.
Oh, ye of the less faithful, as you don't recall the glorious Patrick Surtain 100-yard pick 6 against the Raiders. Now I understand. It's a completely different year, a completely different avenue, completely different mindset. But I feel good. And that's my rivalry talking because it is born into me to hate the Raiders. Joey, do you have a bold prediction for us?
I do. This is the Broncos blowout game, everybody. This is when it happens right now. This is when the Broncos get put on the map as a Super Bowl contender, even though it's silly because it's against the Raiders. Who cares? They will win by 20 points this game. They will win by 20 points. The Broncos will win by 20 points this game. Zach, before you start looking up some stats and analytics, you have to say about that.
I don't know what that made you laugh.
I'm gonna fade it. This is, I think I gotta, credit for you finally giving a bold prediction. Like five times the Vegas line. So I'll take you up on it. I think you might be right, but too good to pass up.
I haven't even really decided what my score prediction is going to be. So now I'm very strategically trying to consider that I don't think it'll be 20 plus points that they win by. And that might just be
A lot of points, Bree. 20 points is a lot.
But if I play into the whole idea that the Broncos have 2 takeaways, it changes the time of possession, it changes the like they have to score off of that. That's a +7 in general, or at least +6. Fudge. I agree with you that it's going to be
a 20-point victory.
Yeah, it's going to be a 20, which means I have to just be really careful about what I do next. But yeah, I'm going to agree. It feels like the right thing to do. And I got to give credit where credit's due. Joey's been pretty miraculously spot on with his bold predictions. So I feel like he feels something in the air.
And for the record, Zach's been taking all of them. He says that I don't do bold predictions, but the guy, I mean, he just continues to take mine. So I don't know.
That's not true. I passed up a couple of them. You had one that was like RJ Harvey's going to rush for 30 yards, and that.
I never said that. I said I'll have 100 all-purpose yards, and we both were wrong. The guy did not have 100 all-purpose yards.
Oh my gosh. So what are you ending up going with your score prediction then, Joey? Because of
I need to give my bold prediction. Excuse you, Bree.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you did already. That was my bad. I went first.
I'm hurt.
You've just talked so much this episode. I thought you got it out of your system.
My prediction, I think that oh man, this might be a little too ridiculous. You know what? I'm rolling with it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I think
he'll throw for 2.
I think Evan Ingram or Adam Troutman score more fantasy points than Brock Bowers.
Okay. That would require the Broncos. All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
One of the two tight ends.
Fantasy points did Brock Bowers score against the Broncos last time? I know it was low.
Last time I've got you. It's pretty low. He scored, it would be 4.1 receiving, and then he had a carry for -4, so that'd be 3.7. But that's by far his lowest scoring game of the season. Every other game he's had at least 4 catches, and in every other game he's had at least 38 yards. Troutman, I put in there because he just had a good game, and I'd feel kind of like.
Are we on a PPR level, or are we on a not?
I'll count.
Yeah,
PPR,
is this?
Or do you want to do half-point PPR? I think that's pretty standard nowadays.
Half-point PPR for this. The only thing, Zach, that makes this not bold is Evan Ingram's coming off of the fucking game. Man, like, is this
his best game of the season? Is like the average Brock Bowers game.
Is that? But that's trying to say that it's duplicatable.
Yeah. Okay, so Evan Ingram's coming off a game where he scored, just to illustrate the point. What
he didn't score a touchdown, but he had hella yards.
Yeah,
and the touchdowns
79 yards and 6 receptions. So he had
3 points off the PPR.
So 10.9. He had 10.9 fantasy points. Brock Bowers just had 63 yards and 4 receptions, so that's 8.3 plus 2 touchdowns, so that would be 20.3. So yeah, Evan Ingram's coming off a game, still would have been dwarfed by. I didn't even pick Brock Bowers' best game, just last week what he did.
God, okay, I'll take you up on this, but you pissed me off, Seth. You come on here talking about, ooh, should I do this one right before? Like, it's not that crazy at all. This one is not so that crazy.
It hasn't happened a single time all year. Hasn't happened a single time all year. Your things really happened like twice this year.
I mean,
he's mad because he has to agree with you.
The Evan Ingram, the touchdowns, like, yes, a touchdown catch is a touchdown catch. That's great. But a touchdown catch, a lot of that is luck involved. Like, who's the play going to toward in the end zone?
Not when it's Brock Bowers,
Brock
though.
Bowers, the only reason he has this is 4 catches for 6 catches. Evan Ingram also had more yards. These things are more replicable game to game. Evan Ingram came off the game of his life. Now we're talking about it. And then the last game the Broncos played Brock Bowers, they kind of clamped him up a little bit. Shout out Jade Barons. Like, I just don't think it's that crazy, but I will take you up on it. It's just closer than a bold prediction.
Yeah. Remember the thing Joey just said about, well, Zach will come on here and say that's not very bold, and then take it anyways. And I'm just saying, look at what just happened.
I mean, he projected his entire move right there.
Coin flip. It was tails.
He gave you the recipe. I'm just trying to think, okay, if that does actually happen, or if you're preventing Brock Bowers from scoring, right? Because that's the limiting factor in PPR for the point spread. I don't know who else. Maybe Tyler Lockett. Yeah, you're basically saying they'll lock him up, but then what does that do to the score, right? What else are the Ashton Genty, perhaps? Although he has been mildly disappointing for them, just given the
wait
scope.
Till my 60 to 50 score prediction. It's gonna knock your stock off, Bree.
Shoot. So Joey, you're taking it.
I'm taking him up on this bet. Unfortunately, it's just not that crazy. Like, it's not fireworks. Like mine
hasn't happened once all year.
Yeah, I think it'll happen too. I like it, Zach. I think. So
you're passing.
Passing. The whole fading, passing. I'm not taking the bet because I think it'll happen. I'm reading the instructions right now as it happens.
Darn it.
Oh, sorry. What is your score prediction? Because now I'm actually very intrigued.
I don't think the Raiders are going to score a whole lot. I'm worried the Commanders maybe showed them something they could exploit on the ground, and Ashton Genty's pretty darn good. So maybe that leads to a little something. I think this is a 23-10 Broncos win.
23-10.
Yeah,
I got a touchdown over you. I got 30-10.
30-10.
I got a 20.
I'm torn.
Better hope that touchdown doesn't go to Evan Ingram.
I'm torn because 34-14 and 34-10 are where I'm trying to land.
Ooh.
And it covers all of the bases. But 34-14 has happened like 20 more times than 34-10. So
she's calculating the scoregamis over here.
That's good.
Because it's helpful, it's instrumental. So I'm gonna say, but that means that the Vegas scores 2 touchdowns.
That would have the Vegas score at 3 touchdowns and a field goal.
At 14 points.
You said 34-10, right?
34-14 or 34-10. 34-10 is one I'm not going to take. I don't think it's happened last time. 34-14 is the more.
They would score 2 touchdowns. I thought
they would score 2 touchdowns.
I'm stupid.
No, I'm taking the Raiders 34-10. No, Broncos 34-14 is what I'm going to end with. Just because I've already backed myself into a corner and confused myself all in the same sentence. So that's normally how it goes. Any parting words for the Let's Talk Broncos community before we sign on out for the evening?
Yeah, don't let the national media people ruin your Don't let them ruin. You guys, I think we complain a little too much, if I'm being honest with you. If you guys believe in the Broncos, who cares what they have to say? Mm-hmm. That's all. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I'd echo that. And I'd echo that.
We're still the most biggest underdogs in the world. It's a little ridiculous to me. A little bit. We're the biggest underdogs ever. In everybody's head. It's
us versus everyone. Do we finally get to say that? Is that us right now?
No, if we were 8-8, maybe we got to say that. But I feel like we're not. That's my main point.
I think they've got, and it's understandable after the last decade, but the Broncos have a bit of I'll call it Jaguars-itis. You see the Jags go on a 12-5 run or whatever, and will understandably be doubted. And I feel like their fan will be very quick to be like, "You guys are discounting my Jags. How dare you?" I'm sitting there in the pool every Sunday at the stadium, in a Band-Aid soup, and I'm seeing this team and they're darn good. And the Broncos, you don't have to be that way. You know what I mean? This is a prouder franchise. Also, just enjoy like last year where they weren't beating any good teams and they were just like hoping to squeak into the playoffs, and the Chiefs were resting their starters in the last week, having a little defensive, like, hey, we belong here. Like, I get that. This seems at the top of the AFC. Puff your chest out a little bit.
We don't have to fight every day.
Yeah.
Just
Or
feel
do
confident.
math. We don't have to sit there thinking what the playoff indicator is and celebrating, throwing a little party for meaningful football in December. Say it with your chest, Broncos country. It feels good to win, and fuck them haters. All righty, we'll be out of here. I'm not on the radio. I can say what I want to say. Watch out for Altitude Adjustment on Tuesday. Go ahead and tune in, rewatch that after you watch this program. And then we'll be back with you. Zach, on deck for a Sunday live game recap.
Yep, I'll be back. Was running the board for KOA this time, so I couldn't. But yeah, I'll be back this next time.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful. We'll see you next time. We'll be here to break it all down with you and hopefully be celebrating a 10-game win streak.
Draft articles coming for me soon, by the way, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.